Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. In a video yesterday, I reported that XRP holders have officially sued the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, as well as the acting chairman of the SEC, who by the way, it's funny enough, wasn't around when all this S-word hit the fan, but hey, you're in charge of it now, my friend. Yeah, Jay Clayton, can you believe that? He major just bomb drop of a lawsuit against Ripple, and then the next day he's like, I resign. It's freaking insane here. But anyway, XRP holders are indeed suing the SEC, and it's going to be very interesting. I made a long video yesterday covering this rather in depth. It was about 40 minutes long, much longer than my typical videos, but look, that's how long I felt it needed to be. Even so, there is so much more to say about this. And in this video, I want to focus on why this attorney, John Deaton, believes that the SEC is going after Ripple as they are, and thinks it could perhaps have to do with political motivations, as well as Jay Clayton's perhaps opportunity for personal gain, and cites that he thinks it's quite a viable position that the SEC, they're overcharging Ripple and they know it just to force a settlement. So I'm going to be running through that. Really interesting stuff here. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. But in going through this whole thing, because I read this whole thing before I recorded my video yesterday, and I was just sitting there like, oh my gosh, yes, it was so cool to see so many of the things that I knew to be true articulated by a lawyer and then sent straight out to the SEC. Bam, fix this problem. So we'll see what comes here, but it's just disgusting to me. It's just reprehensible, completely reprehensible what the SEC has done. They say that they're protecting me and you as XRP holders. No, they're causing tremendous damage, and so it's really refreshing to see what's happening here with this suit. And I do firmly believe, I want to share this too before digging in. Like I really do not believe that this is going to go in favor of the SEC. There could still be a settlement, and I kind of prefer that, to be honest. I would be perfectly happy with that. As long as it means that XRP is not declared a security, I'd be perfectly fine with that. Now, I do want to share with you, before digging into the content, there's a tweet that John Deaton, the attorney who put this all together, is a little Twitter thread here on your screen now that I wanted to run through, and he put this out just a few hours or so ago. He wrote the following. Always remember, our democracy is supposed to be a government by the people for the people. I filed an action against the SEC because it and our governmental officials have forgotten who they represent. Yes. The SEC's mission statement is to protect investors, promote fairness, and share information about companies to help investors make informed decisions and invest with confidence. As chairman of the SEC, it was Jay Clayton's fiduciary duty to enforce the mission statement. He failed miserably. Instead of protecting investors and sharing information to help investors make informed decisions about XRP, he knowingly and intentionally caused multi-billion-dollar losses to innocent investors. Clayton was sent a letter from Joseph Grunfest, a former fellow Republican SEC chairman, appointed by Ronald Reagan, warning Clayton and pleading with him that there was no emergency or immediate need to file a case against Ripple, claiming today's XRP are securities. Grunfest warned Clayton that never before was there a case in which the SEC wasn't alleging fraud or misrepresentation, whereas just the filing of the action against a company would cause unprecedented multi-billions in losses of innocent investors. Yeah, just pause right there. Think about the seriousness of this. Unprecedented action here. And as Jay Clayton's out the door, no less. And you're talking about, a serious allegations, but not fraud. And it's going to cause this type of damage and you still move forward. It's disgusting. Anyway, attorney John Deaton continues. He told Clayton since 7 years have went by with XRP actively being traded that there was no need to rush this case, and the new incoming administration should be consulted, especially since Clayton resigned and was leaving and wouldn't be around to see the case through. But instead of listening and with improper motives, Jay Clayton filed the most significant SEC case in modern history, making the ridiculous claim that XRP held in the individual wallets of people with no connection to Ripple are securities. The next day, Clayton left the SEC. The legal action I filed isn't about defending Ripple. They have smarter lawyers than me to defend them. But if they collect a dime from Ripple, it should go to the people that lost money due to the SEC's actions and inactions for 7 years. Oh, couldn't have said it better myself. And it's really been nice to see the XRP community rally around John Deaton. I noticed when I first came across the legal document that he submitted, the lawsuit here, yesterday, he had about 200 followers. And as I record this, he's got 1,771. So I just think it's the coolest thing on the planet. Like I've been saying forever, the XRP community is the best community in all of crypto. And I firmly mean that. And if I'm biased, so what? It's still true, damn it. It just freaking is here. Really, really nice to see this. So let's dig into this actual claim now as far as the actual motives, which I think you're going to find rather fascinating. And I'm not ever going to get into politics on this channel. So President Trump and Steve Mnuchin and so on and so forth are mentioning this. I'm just reporting what's in this lawsuit. I am not making a political statement, and so just want to be clear. I think one of the best things I could do if it were my goal to alienate people is to talk about politics on a cryptocurrency channel. That would just be like, that would do it. Follow that up with a little bit of religion. Oh, it'll be a great time. Great time. All right, anyway, so let's jump in here. He's got this little heading titled Political Revenge. It is widely known, both in the cryptocurrency community and the government, that Clayton is perceived to be anti-crypto. President Trump has stated that he does not favor Bitcoin or crypto assets. Secretary Steve Mnuchin has stated similar beliefs. As stated, former National Security Advisor John Bolton has publicly stated that he was present when he heard President Trump instruct Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin to go after Bitcoin. More significant is that Ripple and its executives, especially Chris Larsen, Brian Garlinghouse, and General Counsel Stuart Alderodi, have been very critical of the Trump administration and of Clayton in his role as chairman of the SEC. In fact, the tension between Ripple, Clayton, and the Trump administration became public in 2019 to 2020. Prior to that, Garlinghouse, along with the CTO of Ripple, met with Clayton and Trump's senior officials at the White House. Afterwards, Ripple's general counsel stated publicly that the U.S. is dangerously close to losing the global edge in crypto and blockchain technology to China. Larsen publicly argued that China can reverse a Bitcoin transaction due to its control over the Chinese Bitcoin miners. Larsen repeatedly argued that the U.S. isn't winning the technological Cold War against China. Larsen repeatedly argued that China and Asian mining related to Bitcoin and Ethereum constitutes for 80% of total mining, and the U.S. government's inaction is losing the war and suppressing American innovation. Garlinghouse goes on national television, including CNBC and Fox Business, and openly threatens to relocate Ripple outside of the United States because of the Trump administration's continued lack of regulatory clarity. Garlinghouse on Fox nonetheless states that the Trump administration and Clayton are favoring China and suppressing American innovation by providing regulatory clarity to ETH and Bitcoin, which are controlled and subsidized by the Chinese Communist Party. Ripple and its executives and/or lobbyists were effective in getting significant and powerful politicians to question Clayton's performance. Senator Mike Crapo wrote a letter to both the OCC and SEC seeking clarity regarding crypto payments. Senator Crapo stated that the different government agencies need clear rules that do not stifle innovation. Weeks prior to the SEC enforcement action against Ripple, a number of U.S. congressmen signed a letter to the SEC asking for regulatory clarity related to digital assets, including XRP. Ripple's efforts continued to place political pressure on Clayton. The Washington Examiner publicized an investigative piece on the issue of the Trump administration and Clayton losing the blockchain technology war to China because the SEC would not provide clarity. An article was published stating that cryptocurrency is at the forefront of not just finance, but even national security. The article stated that the U.S. intelligence community is raising concerns about the Chinese Communist Party's, that's CCP for short, influence over digital currencies with the SEC. The Director of National Intelligence, John Ratcliffe, wrote a letter directed at Clayton in early November 2020, stating that crypto, central bank digital currencies, and e-cash are all being drawn into a multi-front global competition against Beijing for leadership of the world's economy. He informed Clayton that experts and industry leaders, Ripple, are worried that China is leaving the U.S. behind in the digital currency race. Director Ratcliffe pointed to concerns the U.S. has regarding China's sway over digital currencies, as more than half of the world's crypto mining operations are located in China. He warned Clayton that the Chinese government has created its own state-controlled digital currency that would make it tough for the U.S.-based companies like Ripple and innovators to compete. Ratcliffe offered to have the senior economic intelligence officers brief Clayton on the matter. Clayton did not appreciate the pressure being placed on him and his office, stemming from the direct efforts of Ripple and its executives. Irritated by the Ratcliffe letter, he refused to personally respond, although the letter was addressed to him. And so, look, I tell you what, I guess we'll never know for sure what's true unless some sort of bomb drops in terms of motivation. But I'd always found it kind of strange. Like, some people think that Ripple, they said what they said about leaving the United States to try and put pressure as if they thought that they could change the outcome of what would happen with regulatory clarity with the SEC. And I never thought they had that power, and I also never thought that Ripple thought they had that power. But it's certainly possible that them saying what they said, especially Garlinghouse and Larson, what if it did piss them off? I mean, humans are humans and they have emotions, and they act in silly, stupid, mean, unfair ways as a result of such emotions. If they're offended, I don't know if it's true. I don't know what's in the heart of Clayton here, but it's feasible that it could have been something along those lines. But anyway, it continues here. Instead, an SEC spokesperson responded and claimed, Chairman Clayton is committed to restoring innovation in the digital assets and digital payment space consistent with United States investor protection and anti-money laundering laws. A fairly mundane generic response to claims that the SEC was helping China win the blockchain crypto revolution. As the Washington Examiner observed correctly, this letter by President Trump's spy chief signaled a push to convince Clayton and the SEC to implement rules that make it easier for U.S.-owned crypto companies, Ripple, to compete against those based in and controlled by China. The SEC spokesperson did fire back defensively, stating Clayton's work has included engaging directly with domestic and international counterparts, including acting comptroller Brian Brooks, to ensure the U.S. can remain at the forefront of innovative financial and market technology. Ripple's general counsel was interviewed regarding this scathing rebuke and criticism of Clayton and the SEC. Stuart Alderodi publicly warned about China's influence in the digital space. He said, the data doesn't lie. The vast majority of Bitcoin's network and infrastructure chips, mining pools, and software are all located in China or created by Chinese companies. This is not decentralization. The CCP wields absolute control in China. And so to the Bitcoin maxis out there that think that that's nothing, just even if it's unlikely that something would happen in terms of the actual government taking over the miners, it's possible, and it really grinds my gears that they won't at least acknowledge that. It's just like they don't want to acknowledge any potential flaw with the way that Bitcoin has been adopted to this point, or from a technological perspective. And so that's why the beef that I have with so many Bitcoin maxis when they ignore stuff like that or deny it, it's that I believe they've either tricked themselves or they're being intellectually dishonest, which is probably worse. And so you just meet people like that, and that's why, like, on this channel, I've always said this is never going to be like some sort of XRP hype channel. I will talk about the good and the bad, and I have done that consistently for over 2 years, but I just wish that Bitcoin maxis would stop being maxis and just want the whole space to thrive and acknowledge that this is an actual concern and something along these lines could happen, even if it's not likely to. What's so wrong about that? But here we are. So anyway, my point in stating that, Ripple employees, Garlinghouse, Larson, Alarodi, they're all correct. Of course they're correct. Anybody looking at this objectively can see that they're correct. Anyways, continues. Ripple's general counsel remarks to the Washington Examiner were critical of the Trump administration and the SEC, including Clayton. Alarodi wrote in August 2020 that the Chinese government subsidizes the vast amounts of energy needed to fuel Bitcoin and Ethereum miners, and at least 65% of Bitcoin mining is concentrated in China. Ripple's general counsel openly and publicly questioned whether the U.S. is really willing to allow China to win this new technological and economic Cold War and, with it, allow China to dictate important parts of a new global payment system. The Examiner explained how General Secretary of the CCP, Xi Jinping, has repeatedly shown interest in making the CCP the global leader, referring to blockchain as the new industrial revolution in 2018. In 2019, he said greater effort should be made to help China gain an edge in digital currencies. The Examiner also highlighted that the China Finance magazine, operated by the People's Bank of China, said in September 2020 that the power of digital currencies would soon be a new battlefield, and China should seize the first track. The Washington Examiner's article concluded by taking a direct shot at Clayton. A senior intelligence officer told the Washington Examiner that competing with China is a serious enough challenge without U.S. regulators getting in the way. Ripple's political pressure on Clayton and the SEC was significant, aggressive, and continuous up until the enforcement action was filed on December 22nd, 2020, Clayton's last full day at the SEC. And by the way, so much of what's happened, getting into the nitty-gritty here, this is not stuff that I saw in any sort of crypto news. Some pieces of it. So if this is sounding new to you and you feel like you're an informed person, you're still an informed person. This is a lot of these specific details. And then also, it's just we're kind of theorizing here in terms of what the motivating factors here, and I think it's fair to recognize that as well. But anyway, Senator Tom Cotton also sent Clayton a letter in the summer of this year after he sent his first letter to Clayton in December 2018. He wrote this year, technically this was filed on the 1st, but he must have, he sure didn't write it all on January 1st. So when he wrote this year, he's referencing 2020, just to be clear, even though it was filed on January 1st. But anyway, so let me just read that sentence again. Senator Tom Cotton also sent Clayton a letter in the summer of this year after he sent his first letter to Clayton in December 2018. In both letters, Cotton addresses the same issue with the SEC and did not mince words directed at Clayton when he asserted that there is a need for the SEC to develop a clearer articulation of policy and ultimately formal commission guidance addressing digital currencies to ensure U.S. companies have a chance to lead. Senator Cotton's second letter in July 2020 to the SEC also included Director Ratcliffe and White House National Security Advisor O'Brien lamenting how, so far, the SEC has concluded that only 2 digital assets can be considered non-securities, Chinese-controlled Bitcoin and Ethereum. And by the way, we're about to get to the part very soon, very short order. We get to talk about perhaps why personal motivation, there could be individual factors for Clayton are at play, and also what I find to be supremely interesting, this idea of severely overcharging Ripple in hopes for a settlement. You just wait till you see what attorney John Deaton has to say in this here. But anyway, Cotton was making the same argument that Ripple and its executives have been making since 2017. That the SEC has provided regulatory clarity for Bitcoin and Ethereum, but not XRP, thereby favoring China over the United States' own innovation. Ripple's claim that the SEC needs to provide regulatory clarity and that Bitcoin and ETH favor Chinese companies over U.S. companies was being made by congressmen, national security advisors, senior intelligence officers, and U.S. senators, and they all were directing their criticisms to one agency and its chairman, Clayton and the SEC. This political pressure on the SEC and Clayton was intense and no doubt initiated by Ripple. Does it make you wonder, so what if instead of the creators of XRP, which would be Jed McCaleb, David Schwartz, and Arthur Brittos, you ever wonder if instead of them being open and honest about, we're the ones that created this, what if they pulled a Satoshi and they just, they created it, but then they just put it out into the wild so that we didn't have to deal with any of this crap? I don't know exactly how it would be dispersed, but it's just funny to think that with how transparent Ripple has been, it's resulting in this horrendous litigation. Or as if there were mystery around it that nobody could track down the origins of XRP, like is the case for Bitcoin. Oh, you're now not a security. Just funny to think, man. I'm just saying. Anyway, as stated earlier, Clayton was not only questioned about Ripple and or XRP by politicians and government agents, but also interviewed by business television reporters on CNBC and Fox, as well as by participants attending fintech conferences. In all settings, Clayton was always questioned directly about XRP. For almost 3 years, Clayton was continuously asked by multiple parties the same question. Will the SEC make official statements and declarations that XRP, like Bitcoin and Ethereum, are not securities? For 3 years, Clayton gave the same response, which was that the SEC will not comment on a specific product, even though the SEC had previously provided comment on specific products in Bitcoin and Ethereum. Clayton always replied by vaguely saying, if it's a security, we will regulate it. It's just such a non-answer. He knew what he was doing, too. Hey, is XRP a security? If it's a security, we'll regulate it. Yeah, but is XRP a security? If it's a security, we'll regulate it. Shut up, you freaking asshat. Stupid asshat. I'm going to say asshat one more time. Asshat. It really grinds my gears. Senator Cotton argued that the continued lack of regulatory clarity not only hurts U.S.-developed digital assets, but it puts American national and economic security at risk. Clayton and the SEC refused to even address these concerns raised by prominent leaders of the United States government as it related to the digital asset XRP. Despite these national and economic security risks, the Clayton and the SEC remained silent for another 5 months until they decided that they would provide that regulatory clarity via an enforcement action. Possibly the worst thing that Ripple executives could do after publicly alleging the Trump administration and Clayton were favoring Chinese technology over American innovation was to publicly congratulate President-elect Joe Biden. Moreover, the Ripple executives stated that they believed the Biden administration would be better for the digital currency administration than the Trump administration. In fact, Garlinghouse publicly stated that from his perspective, the Biden administration had to be better than Trump's because Ripple couldn't imagine the regulatory environment being any worse than the current one. It appears that Jay Clayton proved Garlinghouse wrong and provided him with a worse environment than the status quo. Oh my gosh. And can I also point out, we'll get into this because the next section's super duper interesting. Well, the one in particular about is kind of motivating factors and overcharging, because so much of what was written in the SEC claim against Ripple had nothing to do with any sort of legal charges. They threw in stuff that had nothing to do with Ripple and selling XRP allegedly as a security, because there were no fraud charges, but still they brought up the selling, for example, of XRP to institutional investors, which was totally transparent. I talked about it before the lawsuit happened on this channel multiple times. It was well known, as well as the personal selling of Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larson, also very well known publicly. I talked about it on the channel before all this news broke about the SEC suing Ripple. And so all of this, again, these things that they're citing, that's not illegal. That specifically doesn't speak to whether or not XRP is even a security, right? I mean, I guess you could argue that as far as selling to institutional investors, if they were claiming that security, fine, that one. But as far as the individual stuff with Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larson, well, that has nothing to do with it. And so what they did was, the reason they threw it in the first place was to get people all riled up. So they'd read that, oh my God, they're dumping on the market during all these times. Like, come on, holy freaking hell, man. It really burns my biscuits. But it bothers me because I'm telling you, that was a clear manipulation tactic. It couldn't be more clear to me. And I've mentioned that before in at least one video. There's so much that was in the suit against Ripple that was designed to trigger people emotionally. All right? I'll continue. After 7+ years of allowing XRP to be openly sold on multiple U.S. exchanges, after allowing XRP to be held in crypto index funds and brokerage trust accounts, after approving Ripple's purchase of a minority stake in MGI, knowing that XRP would be promoted and utilized, after XRP was declared a virtual currency by the DOJ FinCEN in 2015, After being informed by Ripple in May 2020 that Ripple would be selling more XRP to institutions and not stopping it, after years of being continuously questioned about whether XRP would get the same non-security status as Bitcoin and Ethereum, and after intense political pressure, knowing that the opposition party is assuming control of the SEC in less than 30 days, after being warned by a former SEC chairman that he should not file an action, Clayton directed the most significant SEC enforcement action in modern history to be filed against Ripple. Its executives and XRP, the third largest cryptocurrency, claiming all XRP is unregistered securities and causing billions in losses to innocent investors with no connection to Ripple. Then the next day, Clayton left the SEC forever. So freaking well written. Oh my God, I love that. Check out this now. What about personal gain? Jay Clayton, prior to the SEC, was a partner at Sullivan and Cromwell LLP as its head of corporate practice. Clayton advised the largest firms in investment banking and had a long history of advising and working with Goldman Sachs. He writes his GS here for us. I'm just going to say GS. GS is deeply involved and familiar with the global banking infrastructure, including cross-border commodity swaps and the SWIFT payment system. Jay Clayton's wife has worked for and closely with GS for 2 decades. As stated earlier, and admitted by the SEC in its complaint, since at least 2015, Ripple has targeted replacing SWIFT in the international payment arena with XRP. As stated, SBI Holdings is testing the use of XRP in the FX markets. A former GS executive experienced in the FX markets resigned to go to Ripple in order to explore that use case for XRP. As stated, the global FX market is a $1 to $7 quadrillion market. In October 2020, GS officially makes a play into the cross-border payment market and officially becomes a competitor to Ripple. Remember, cross-border payments were the designed use case for XRP. That's actually not quite precise enough. I'm going to nitpick just a little bit there. David Schwartz has recently publicly stated that, they thought maybe loosely it would have something to do with payments in some way. But the truth is they were just trying to build a better Bitcoin and they didn't know what it was going to be used for. So I don't get too nitpicky, but that's a little bit more factually precise. Anyway, I'll continue now. Also, remember, for the last 5 years, Ripple has been the only company offering a replacement to the SWIFT payment system. GS will now compete with Ripple in both the FX markets and cross-border payments. It will be interesting to see what connection, if any, Jay Clayton has with GS after leaving the SEC. Now check out this. This might be my favorite. Yeah, it is. It's my favorite part. Motive to force settlement. Look at this. So here's what we're getting. This the crux of the matter. With the overcharging, everything they're throwing at Ripple, what's the motive? Motive to force settlement. So check this out. The only logical explanation for why the SEC would allege that XRP continues today to be a security is to force a settlement. It is an often common tactic for a prosecutor to overcharge a defendant in an effort to cause panic and/or fear and/or force a settlement plea. If the SEC wanted to hold these 2 executives liable, it could have done so separately by alleging specific distributions made by them personally at specific periods of time constituted securities. But, as demonstrated, XRP itself today is not a security. According to the SEC complaint, the parties entered into a statute of limitations tolling agreements. Therefore, the parties discussed a potential resolution or settlement. This statement is corroborated by Garlinghouse in his letter to Ripple employees when he states that he and Larson could have settled separately but chose to fight the charges. Clearly, a pre-filing settlement was out of the question. Thus, the SEC possibly employed a kitchen sink approach to the charges and threw everything in, including the kitchen sink. Simply put, the SEC filed the most aggressive complaint they possibly could in order to inflict the greatest harm they could in order to bully or coerce a party to settle. The petitioners offer the kitchen sink theory because there is no possible way that Clayton or the bright and talented lawyers of the SEC honestly believe that they can convince a judge or a jury that all the XRPs in existence, in thousands of accounts of investors that have absolutely no connection to Ripple, are all securities. The claim that today's XRP, the XRP sitting in the accounts and or digital wallets of the named petitioners and all others similarly situated, constitute securities under the Howey test, is so weak that a summary judgment is likely to be granted in favor of the petitioners in this action, or in favor of Ripple in the SEC enforcement action regarding today's XRP. Quite frankly, it is legally incorrect, intellectually dishonest, and completely disingenuous for any SEC lawyer to stand up in open court and claim that all XRPs are securities. If the SEC attempted to make that argument, it would be laughable if the economic damage that has been done wasn't so tragic. Bravo. Well said. See, so that's why, look, it's like the more you learn, like I already had confidence because I'd been aware of this topic since I first began investing in XRP. I'm like, yeah, there's no way in hell that it could possibly be a security. But the more you dig in and get perspective from actual attorneys, as is the case here with attorney John Deaton, you're like, yeah, this is freaking ridiculous. And so the SEC, they're not stupid. They know what they're doing. We're just questioning what their strategy is, and perhaps it is indeed the case, as cited here, that they're simply going a bit hard in the paint, if you will. You know, they're overcharging, and they know they have to know that XRP could never be proven to be a security. It is laughable. You know. That's why I keep saying, even if there's some sort of penalties by Ripple that have to be paid and some sort of settlement, fine, I don't care. But, you know, to declare every single XRP in existence as security of Ripple is absurd on its face. And that's why you get, so that's the thing, you get all these Bitcoin maxis out there, and while all this scary stuff's happening, because the average person doesn't know what the hell's going on, and scaring people saying, oh, with this, oh my gosh, you have to be crazy to be purchasing XRP right now, blah, 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 this, and oh my God, it's going to go to zero. You hear all these scary things out there. But the truth of the matter is that the SEC is behaving in a completely absurd manner, and they have to know it. They absolutely have to know it. Even if they have a case on certain points, which I'll be happy to acknowledge may be the case. And part of the reason I say that, just to be clear, is this is me, not a law background, period. But I do know it's the case, and I'll word it the best I can without lawyer speak, because I don't have that. I'm not a lawyer. It's possible to be guilty of like going through the motions of selling something as if it were a security, even if the underlying asset isn't a security. Meaning that Ripple could have, and I don't know if it's the case, but could have been guilty of doing that by selling the XRP. Maybe. I'm not saying that's the case. But even if so, it doesn't mean that all the XRP in existence is a security. And so it just is, as long as you can get around the fact. Because look, one thing that I think is going to be a non-starter for Ripple is if to get a settlement, they had to agree to never sell XRP again. Because look, they're managing liquidity with key partners, and if you take that away, I think that would pretty notably damage Ripple's business model. And I think it's a non-starter, and so it depends on how stringent the SEC is going to be about that. But either way, you get the court, and it's just like it's going to be interesting here. But I have confidence, and we don't know for sure, and that's why it is. I understand a bit scary. Totally understand it. But what can I do but move forward just like you and just have confidence that what is right will be done. And you don't know. Sometimes things go wrong in court and justice isn't done, but what can you do but put one foot forward after the next and just have confidence in the legal system here. I think that's all that you can do. And don't forget that Andrew Serezny, who is leading the charge against the SEC, that's Ripple's legal team, he's a former SEC director, and he says, no, this is absurd. Of course, XRP is not a security. There's all sorts of former SEC employees that firmly disagree with the charges and the suit from the SEC against Ripple. So we're just going to have to sit tight and see where it all lands. But, in going through this, I hope this added a little bit of clarity and maybe helped to remove a little bit of the emotion from it for you, you know, because the more I learn, the easier it is in anything in life. If something sounds scary, the more I learn, the easier it is to remove the fear and just think level-headed. Unless, in fact, the data would have you believe, no, this is actually legit scary, but that's not what happened. And I'll tell you what, me reading through this, all it did is increase my level of confidence, which was already extremely high, that this is just completely freaking absurd. So we'll see. I'll keep tracking it, though. I am so appreciative of Attorney John Deaton putting this together. So thankful that the community, the XRP community, is so supportive of him. I just, my gosh, my personal Twitter feed, and I appreciate everybody that tagged me in this stuff too. For the last 24 hours, it's just been blowing up with stuff having to do with John Deaton and the suit, and I love it. I love being tagged in all this stuff. I wish I could personally respond to everybody, but please know I am thankful. If you're one of the people that tagged me in this and you're participating, I do appreciate that, even if I don't respond. And also, Twitter is built in such a way that, my gosh, it's an overwhelming amount of information, and sometimes I do actually miss stuff anyway, like frequently. I can't help it, man. It's like, go away 5 minutes, there's like another 20 notifications that are new, which I'm not complaining about. I'm just letting you know, like, that's the kind of the state of things. But don't ever take it as a meaning that I don't appreciate. If like, I'm not snubbing you, I promise. You know, I'd never do it to somebody. But yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and wrap up there. But I'm feeling great. I don't know about you, but I'm just going to hold my XRP and see how this all plays out. And I'm optimistic. I'm genuinely optimistic, and we'll see how it goes. I just don't believe that XRP will be proven to be a security. I don't believe that in terms of actual adoption as well as price action, that XRP's best days are behind it. I just don't believe that. I think that at some point, and this is not financial advice, it's my own professional opinion, that XRP will, more likely than not, at some point, reach its all-time high and enter a new realm of price discovery. But I will wrap up there. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything, because of anything that I say or write, that would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.